today, alright, well before we start, I just wanted to thank people who are leaving me likes, and please like and subscribe and all that, because I'm trying to spread the word. So I know no one's listening, so if anyone finds this useful, then please share it. So today, while I cooked lunch, I was just flicking through Twitter and stuff like that, and there was a couple of posts. Well, one post by Eric Weinstein, whatever, that caught my attention, and he was just talking about basically how society kind of imposes shoulds or shoulds and oughts onto people, and is that something that we should do? Is that something that we should expect from society and stuff like that? And someone put an interesting post on that was like basically well, somebody I commented on this post, and I was like basically saying that there's like intrinsic and extrinsic things that go on. So these oughts and shoulds, now in the modern age we differentiate between society and the government and the state telling you, and maybe in the past we were more happy with we'd set our moral standards, and we do it in accordance with our family and our community. Anyway, so somebody liked that post, and I checked out their profile, and it's kind of funny, people, I know people often say that Twitter's like a dumpster fire and stuff like that, but there are people out there who are just posting content that are just saying kind of interesting things. And so a guy who liked my post, I was just looking through his profile, and he put a tweet on that was something like, what was it? When we abandon the sacred, we lose our moral compass. That's it. So when we dismiss the sacred, we lose our moral compass. And it really, really hit me. I was like, wow, there's lots of levels that you can sort of think about that. And, just the word say the sacred when we dismiss the sacred, because that kind of, the sacred, it means lots of, it can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. So if you'd have asked me what the sacred was when I was growing up, I was raised a Roman Catholic, so it was obvious to me what the sacred was. It was God, it was Jesus, it was the Virgin Mary, it was the angels, the apostles, the prophets, whatever. But now, if you were to ask me, what's the sacred, then it's it's a whole completely different thing to me. So things that I kind of think that nature is sacred, and I've often thought about I don't know why when I was a kid, if I'd see a stone or something, I'd pick it up and look at it, and I'd think, maybe I could do something with the stone, but then I'd feel bad that I was changing something that was kind of sacred in itself. It's just this part of nature that was just there before. Let's face it, stones. If it's a smooth stone, it's probably been around for a long time, a lot longer than I have. And so it just, it hit me So it's I also started to think about, the moral compass. That's kind of, that analogy of like a compass, something that you use to find your way. But it's like, it's personal as well, you know what I mean? Like, you all, you don't have a community compass. You might have like a weather vane on, on your house or on top of the church or something where like you can see where the weather, which way the wind's blowing and stuff like that. But a compass, that's something, and also what's special about a compass is that, everyone who has one, they all point the same way. It's kind of the point. And so like the idea that there could be like a moral compass. Because obviously, if your compass doesn't point the same way as someone else's compass, then it's like, it's useless. If they're all pointing, if we were to be like, it kind of brings up the, the moral relativism compared to like the moral compass. And I don't know. I don't. It just really, it made me think about it. And so like, is it unfashionable these days to have a moral compass or something? I don't know. And does it serve? Because it seems like the political, the modern political discourse is like, there doesn't seem really to be any kind of compass to it, you know what I mean? There's no, or like, certainly not moral. So, if you find something morally objectionable, then that's it, then you can't do it. And there doesn't seem to be any room for like morality, you know what I mean? And like, it used to be like personal morality used to be a big deal. You could be a conscientious objector and like not go and fight in the war. Like you didn't have to convince anyone. It was just like, I can't do this because it goes against my morals. It's against your own moral compass, and that was just like a given. Whereas now, it seems that we question people's motives for everything. Kind of, are we moving into like a stage where we're not even allowed to have a moral compass? No, I'm not saying that everyone's moral compass is, does point in the same direction, but, people certainly will have different morals, but surely there's like, we have fundamental principles that we all agree on. I mean, it seems to be that we, it doesn't seem to be very contentious to say that like murder is wrong. But then you might get into the area of like, well, what about euthanasia? It's like, well, if someone wants to die and you want help with that, then surely that's not murder. I don't have any problem with that. But what happens if like, someone's really sick and suffering but can't tell you? And then you think, well, maybe we should just end the suffering. But like, there's no way that they can either approve or, express an opinion that we don't want it to be ended, So what happens there? It's like, can we at least acknowledge that perhaps there are situations or maybe questions that actually don't have a right answer? I mean, is that allowed? Is that even, valid? I mean, are we allowed to say that? Do we have to have an answer for everything? It seems like we have to, the way the discourse is going is that we're expected to have an answer for everything. But, what if your moral compass, what if you just don't agree with something and you can't even say why? Is that allowed? I mean, I'd say yeah. No, it's not. I don't. I think. I think it was in Jonathan Haidt's book, the it's something like the moral mind or something. I have read it, and basically the whole, like, to sum up the book, it's that what we think of as moral decisions we rationalise sort of post hoc. So like we have this kind of fundamental opinion or conclusion, and then we like rationalise it after. And there's a whole bunch of examples in it of how we tested this and stuff, and I'm not going to rehash them here, but it's kind of, it seems like that's the case. So it seems to be, putting the cart before the horse if we're going to be judging people on what their what their morality is, or what their principles are, if they just can't like explain them. And that's kind of, it does seem strange to me as well as I'm saying this, because I always thought that if you have principles, because I'm always talking about principles, these are my principles, so like, as I'm always going on about, like, self-ownership, I think that's the fundamental principle, and that's sort of like, everything else is stacked upon that, because like, if you don't own yourself, then you can't be free, so, and if you're not free, then like, freedom of speech doesn't mean anything either. It's like, you can never have any type of freedom of speech if you're not free, or like, if you don't have freedom of speech, then it's as if you don't own yourself, because you're not in charge. You can't decide what noises you make with this part of your body, you know what I mean? It's kind of, so that's why I think that it's like, that's a principle. But what if people just believe things and they don't, and they're not able to tell you why? What if it's just like, it's just a moral compass? Like, you can use a compass without knowing how it works. It's not like an aeroplane. You can't use an aeroplane without knowing how it works. You know what I mean? You can't just get in and like, I don't know. You could probably kill yourself in it, but you couldn't like use it the way it's meant to be used. But I mean, obviously, we're talking levels of complexity and stuff like that. A compass is potentially, less complex than an airplane. But what I mean is, it's like having a moral compass. Like, if it's always pointing in the same direction, then you've got some consistency in your life and in your thoughts. So even if you can't really express it, if you can't like say, I think this because of X, Y, and Z, you've still got your moral compass, or maybe that's the point of a moral compass, is that it's the very thing that allows you to express your principles. I mean, yeah, maybe that's it, maybe that's why. So maybe we should require people to be able to tell you why they do or don't want to do something, because it kind of, it means that they have to use the moral compass in a consistent way to actually draw out some logical conclusions. So the bit that I was talking about as well, the sacred. So I mean, is that, I know it's not like, it's kind of like a prickly question though, isn't it? Because, religion is a protected class. So what's sacred to me might not be sacred to someone else, but what's even worse, like, you could have like two groups of people that see things that are sacred that like directly conflict. So what do you do there? I mean, what should you do? How are we expected to live like morally and ethically together if we've just got fundamentally conflicting views? I mean, what do we do? What does I always forget the word in English, when secular, what how does a secular society, how's it supposed to work? I mean, by the very nature of it being secular, is it anti-sacred? Does it like ignore things that are sacred, or does it not believe in things that are sacred? It's kind of, it's, but is there any other way to have like a society that has, multiple beliefs and, freedom, if it's not secular? I mean, I guess it has to be secular, because, how do we, otherwise you're just in some kind of like, religious dictatorship. So I don't think there's any other way around it. But it's kind of crazy. So we're in 2024, and there are lots of things. There's like loads of conversations going on in Twitter and stuff, and in the world, on the news. Countries are invading other countries and stuff, and we're not even close to having any kind of meaningful answer to, what is sacred? What does sacred mean? Why is life sacred? Is life sacred? I mean, obviously we think that human life's sacred, but we don't always, because, as a society we're quite happy to pay to, send weapons to another country to attack another country by proxy. And we all know what I'm talking about there. And that's just fine. So it's like, well, life's sacred, but not that sacred. Or like, I'm eating fish. So it's like, do I not think that fish's life was sacred? It's like, well, maybe I did. I think I do. I didn't want it to suffer unnecessarily. But for instance, I don't eat meat. So I obviously do think that there's something more sacred about like mammals than I do fish. Is that just, am I just being a hypocrite? Well, maybe I am. I don't know. I don't want to be, but I do think that there's like a level of, I do feel more empathy towards a cow than like a salmon. And I think to myself that like a cow's more capable of suffering than a salmon is. And also it's like, it's not equivalent the way you process like a salmon than it is like a cow. With, what's the film called? Earthlings, I think it's called. By, I think it's a PETA film, it's not like it's not like I don't wear leather or, I'm not a vegan or anything, I eat cheese and all stuff like that, I'm not completely, let's not use animals as a resource. But if you watch Earthlings and then, you're happy about just eating meat, I think there's something wrong with you. That's like, I only watched it once, and that was it. I just couldn't. And it's not that I don't even find it disgusting. I've like fished and like ate what I've caught and stuff. I've killed it myself. I don't have a problem with, I don't find it disgusting. I don't find meat disgusting even now. It's like, when we're like preparing, I'm the one who does I do a lot of the cooking at home, don't do all of it. But like when it's something like, ooh, can you clean this fish, or ooh, can you get the kidneys out of the back of this chicken? I'm fine with doing that. I don't not eat meat because I find it disgusting. In fact, quite often when we're cooking meat for the kids, I'm like, that smells quite nice. Although, interestingly, other times when I smell it, I find it, I don't like the smell at all, and that's only started happening since I stopped eating meat. So I don't really know what's going on there. But anyway, I was saying about sacredness of life and things like that. It's we're just so incoherent as a society, but I suppose even on the individual level. I'm standing here like asking these questions, thinking them through out loud, and it's quite shocking. I thought that I had my head kind of like sorted out, and it's kind of shocking. how even like basic questions, we don't, we haven't thought them through. In fact, we don't even, most of these questions don't even get asked. We don't talk about them at all these days. You know, what's sacred? What does meaning mean? You know, I want meaning in my life, or that has no meaning. It's like, you know, meaning. You know, what's meaning? What gives meaning? What does meaning even mean? I think you can hear my dog. I'll have to let him in. Alex. He's crying because he wants to get in on the conversation, obviously. But yeah, we just, I don't know what kind of got me off in this direction today. I didn't really think I was going to be having all these thoughts, because I normally like to, you know, come along and have an idea and I like tell you what I think about, and here it's like, you know what, I don't know what I think about most of these things, and it's kind of strange. But it was like, it's interesting that, you know, just like random people on Twitter are asking these questions, like, you know, what's going on? You know, it's like, you know, we only hear about like when, you know, craziness on Twitter, but maybe I misunderstood it. Maybe I just didn't look into it enough, you know, or you know, I didn't previously spend that much time actively thinking about it. But you know, maybe I think I'm going to start reading some more random things rather than just like, you know, the white noise that comes out. But anyway, so I don't think I've probably made anyone think, ooh, look, Fran's had some great insights about this today. But you know, I think it's something that we that doesn't get, it just doesn't get talked about. I mean, everyone seems to be like, there seems to be like lots of opinions, but no like, you know, no roots to the opinion. Where does, you know, why do people think what they think? So that's what's really interesting about Jonathan Haidt's book, because he doesn't actually get into why people think that. I mean, he sort of, he kind of does. It's like, you know, he sort of like says like people that are like more, you know, like what you call right wing have like stronger disgust mechanism and, you know, things like that. You know, which leads them to, you know, down certain paths. So, you know, although like in terms of fairness, what you kind of think that maybe leftists, you know, people who are like more left wing would be more concerned with fairness. But when you do the personality tests, they're actually not. It's like, you know, right wingers and left wingers are all, you know, pretty much the same, you know, of what they think, you know, fairness is. So that's kind of interesting as well. But like left wing people tend to be a lot more open and like, you know, welcoming of like, you know, brand new ideas and brand new concepts and stuff like that. So, you know, it's kind of, maybe it just can't be fixed though, the whole idea that, you know, we need to vote for things to, you know, decide which way society moves. You know, maybe that, you know, what happens if it's just, well, I mean, it's kind of a moot point with me, because I don't even believe that. So, see, that's the thing, you sort of I get caught up in like the zeitgeist of, you know, we live in this political system, and that's the problem, isn't it? You know, I've got away from my own principles that was like, of course it's not going to work, because it can't work, because you can't delegate rights that you don't have, and that's like the principle. So like, the thing that, you know, you can't, I don't have the right to decide how anyone else wants to live, so I can't vote to force that person to live like I want them to. And that's where it just all comes from. And I think that's it. That's kind of like where I was coming from when I replied to Eric Weinstein, is that, you know, looking for society to give you the oughts and musts and mustn'ts, it's just looking in the wrong place, because they should come from within. And then once they come from within, and then if we say that we're the fundamental moral compass that we're all using, if that does point in the same way, which I believe it does, I don't think it's the same question as, is murder wrong? I think everyone would agree that murder is wrong, stealing is wrong. And so that's the moral compass. Then if you get into word games about, well, is taxation theft? Or is if I kill, an embryo that's been alive for like one day, then, have I murdered a baby and stuff like that? I think they're kind of, maybe if you take the strict diet, I do have clear opinions about what they are and what they're not, but I don't think that we should get taken down these avenues and throw off, as long as, if you don't think that you should kill an embryo, then you shouldn't do it, because it's not like it happens by accident, but it should be your choice. And in the same way that if you don't think that you should, someone shouldn't take money off you to go and wage a war. I don't think that's, it just seems crazy to me that anyone can argue that that's what should happen. But as long as we're not in the kind of, getting in the weeds of well, who's going to build the roads, which is I thought that was a joke. The first time I heard Larkin and Rose say that someone will just come up to you and say, but who's going to build the roads? I thought, yeah, surely no one's going to say that. And it's happened to me so many times. I'm just every time I just think of Larkin and Rose. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was on my mind today as I cook lunch. So I'm too hungry to cook this anymore. So yeah, I often say, thank you for watching to the end. Sometimes I forget. Do like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Fran, you're talking a load of nonsense, or whatever. And yeah, just I'll see you next week at some point, I expect. So have a good weekend, and see you around.